Don't be malicious, or I will be too. This happened about 5 or so years ago, when I was a junior developer for a bespoke software development house. I do not remember exactly wording, so things are somewhat paraphrased. I had been working for the company for a little under 2 years, and this was my first software development job. I was very loyal to the company as they had taken a chance on me, so to speak. It is quite difficult to get your first development job here, as every company is looking for someone with some experience even if you do have some qualification. This was a small company with around 15 staff at its largest, including some administrative staff that were shared between this company and another company that the owner and CEO ran from the same premises. I lived about a 30 to 45-minute drive away on a good day and always left for the office really early, at least an hour and a half before starting in case of traffic. We were told we were allowed to work somewhat flexible hours, as long as we worked our time in, but were always encouraged to be in by 8 a.m. Because I often left early from home, I would often be in by 7 o'clock, sometimes earlier. I had keys for the office, so I could let myself in. I arrived late one Monday morning, having been stuck in a huge amount of traffic. There were at least 4 accidents and a few broken down vehicles on the highway, so I arrived about 35 minutes late. I walked in, set up my laptop and started working. A few minutes later, my direct boss, the development manager, let's call him douche manager, looks at me irritably and asks where I have been. I told him that I had messaged him at around 6:45 to let him know traffic was bad and I may be late. That was the last I heard of it for then. I left work at 17:30, having worked through my lunch as usual and 5 minutes before I should technically have left, considering what time I arrived. The next morning I arrived to a company-wide email from douche manager that read something like this: all staff, even grooms and other dev, need to work their hours. You are not allowed to leave early unless you ask for permission. We will be docking salaries for time missed in future. Douche manager. This was in spite of the fact that I had worked between 8 and 10 hours of overtime the week prior, and about 40 for the month. Needless to say, I was irritated. Other dev, who was another more senior developer at the company, was just as irritated as I was, and worked nearly as many hours as I did. Overtime for development staff is pretty much always unpaid where I am from, so we aren't paid for the hours we work extra. I was offended that they would make this a public matter, and would have reacted very differently if they had spoken to me in person, and perhaps been given me a chance to explain my perspective. We were also told when hired that this is give and take and we work hard, but we play hard, etc., and was under the impression that they appreciated the hard work. I was running 3 to 5 projects at a time, which included development, creating spec docs, customer software support, meetings with the client, deployments, etc. This was the reason why I was constantly working overtime. Other dev and I walked out for a cigarette. I know, not great, but I still smoke, and discussed what we should do. Our malicious compliance. We decided that from now on we would only work the hours for which we were paid. We arrived not before 7:50, even if we had to wait somewhere before arriving, and would start working at 8 o'clock sharp. We took every single lunch break to which we were entitled. We left at 1700 hours on the dot. No matter how much work there still was to do. We also both immediately started looking for other work. A few weeks later, other dev came to me and let me know that he had found other work and that they wanted to interview me. He resigned that same day. I ended up being offered and signing a contract at the new company another week or so later, only a day before being called into a meeting with douche manager and the CEO. They wanted to know why I had been, to use their term, clock watching, and they wanted to let me know that they were concerned about deadlines. Just to be clear, I had not been slacking at all. There was simply more work than what could be done in normal business hours. The look on their faces when I, in the same meeting, told them that the email that douche manager had sent to the whole company was completely inappropriate and that this is why I had been clock watching and was giving my notice was priceless. They tried to offer me a higher salary, but I felt as though the bridge was already burned at that point.
Now to the comments. When you dock salaries for time missed, but don't pay more for overtime. Get got.
Get good?
Gid, Good is not a Git command. See Git help. Your assessment of the bridge having been burned is the correct one. They let the match DM showed their character, and they get to deal with the fallout. In my experience, which is entirely non-union, and white-collar work, a successful employee/manager relationship depends upon a level of trust. When that trust is gone, particularly when an employee has chosen to leave, it's very challenging to recover it. Fully departing, then coming back to a new position, possibly to a new manager, can be a success, provided the exit was clean on both sides.
You can't burn a bridge that's already on fire, OP. They lit the match, OP. Please do not have any regrets about walking away. Cool guys don't look at explosions.
When I was in college, I worked for a company that was very rigid. You must be in at 7:30 a.m. One morning there was a train and many people were late 7:35 instead of 7:30. Manager goes around with a form. You must sign this saying you will make up the time or we will dock your pay. I said go ahead and dock my pay the 5 minutes. If they wouldn't have been asses about it, I would have worked the extra 5, or more likely 10, minutes. I figured that someone spent way more money calculating the pay to take out and doing the paperwork, this was the 70s, than the $2.35 an hour for 5 minutes, $0.1958. The AHS turned you into a clock watcher and they had it coming. Hopefully the rest of the entire staff who are salaried also followed your lead. Even if you did accept a higher pay compromising on your terms, they probably would have taken forever to get it in the system, possibly to get a replacement or for you to finish major work and then leave, all whole never getting that higher salary.
That would be wage theft if you got the offer, and starting date, of the wage rise. Big trouble for the company in that case, no matter if you stay or go. More than a few countries, and probably states, have laws about timeliness of pay.
That would be wage theft if you got the offer, and starting date, of the wage rise. If they gave a starting date. My current job, I used to arrive when I arrived, usually 15 minutes before start time, and just walk in and get to work. They got at least an hour, sometimes 2 for free each week. Not ideal, but I was already there, didn't really mind. Needed 20 minutes one day during work hours, my supervisor was fine with it, but management said I had to make it up or get docked. Since then, if I get here early, I sit in my car until 3 minutes before start time and I leave on time unless it's going to screw a colleague over, then I'll stay a bit late but I'll leave early tomorrow. Be a clock watching manager, get clock watching workers. Last job, if everything was done for the day and there was still half an hour to clock off, the boss would send us home. If we needed to stay 20 minutes to finish an order, we stayed. Once a month we all finished at lunchtime on a Friday and had a barbecue. We all put in 100% there and loved it. Just a pity they made some really dumb business decisions and went broke. They had nearly 20 years of success before a few silly moves wiped the business out in months.
Be a clock watching manager, get clock watching workers. This.
I worked very hard for a startup, many extra hours every week. Needed time off for arrival of youngest daughter, told they only offered the legal minimum. They could easily have offered some compromise on flexible working. So, my goodwill vanished in 10 seconds. When I returned to work, I started working more normal hours. One evening boss commented about me leaving early and I replied no, just not staying as late. Post this on r/anti-work. So satisfying. In which country/zone of the world this happened? I heard some things like this by some people I've known some time ago.
OP replied. In South Africa.
In South America is something like in SA. Value more the practice than knowledge.